From the dawn of philosophy to the depths of spiritual mysticism, humanity has wrestled with a single haunting question: why do good and evil coexist? If reality arises from a single divine source, an intelligent, conscious ground of being, how can that same consciousness give rise to both compassion and cruelty, beauty and suffering, light and darkness? This question is not merely theological, it is psychological, existential, and deeply human. To explore it, we must go beyond moral categories and enter the realm of consciousness itself, where opposites reveal themselves not as enemies, but as reflections of one unified awareness seeking to know itself through contrast. Every tradition, from Eastern mysticism to Western metaphysics, recognizes that consciousness manifests as polarity. In the Taoist yin and yang, in the Christian dance of grace and sin, in the Gnostic tension between spirit and matter, duality is everywhere. Yet duality is not ultimate reality, it is the way unity reveals itself through differentiation. Without darkness, light cannot be known. Without sorrow, joy remains abstract. The human mind experiences this polarity as moral struggle. But on a deeper level, consciousness itself uses contrast to expand awareness. In this sense, good and evil are not two substances, but two poles of one divine field, the creative tension through which consciousness experiences itself. In many sacred myths, the presence of evil is explained through the story of a fall, a descent from unity into separation. Yet what if this fall was not a punishment, but a necessary movement of divine exploration? In the Genesis narrative, eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil awakens self-awareness. The moment Adam and Eve discern good from evil, they also experience themselves as separate beings. Awareness, then, brings with it the capacity for both moral discernment and moral error. Evil emerges when consciousness forgets its unity with the whole, when the part mistakes itself for the totality. The fall is the divine entering limitation, so that through the experience of separation, it may rediscover its own infinite wholeness. Modern psychology, particularly in the work of Carl Jung, mirrors this ancient insight. Jung taught that every human being carries a shadow, the repressed and unintegrated aspects of the self. These are not inherently evil, they are energies denied consciousness. When ignored, they manifest destructively. When acknowledged, they become sources of transformation. Thus, the battle between good and evil is not primarily external. It is an inner dialogue within consciousness itself. Evil thrives in unconsciousness, good flourishes in awareness. The path of awakening, therefore, is not to destroy the shadow, but to bring it into the light, integrating all parts of being into harmony. In a universe of consciousness, even what we call evil serves a mysterious function. The mystics of every era, from Plotinus to Rumi, from Eckhart to the Upanishads, taught that apparent disorder is part of a deeper order beyond human comprehension. Evil acts as a mirror, revealing the limits of awareness and compelling the soul to expand. Pain awakens empathy. Destruction gives birth to creation. Ignorance becomes the catalyst for wisdom. From the perspective of divine consciousness, good and evil are not moral absolutes, but movements in a single symphony of evolution, the rhythmic pulsation of awareness, learning through experience. As consciousness evolves, the rigid boundaries of moral dualism begin to dissolve. This does not mean moral relativism. It means perceiving from a higher dimension where opposites converge. Mystics describe this as non-dual awareness, a state where one sees the play of good and evil as expressions of the same divine energy, differentiated only by degree of awareness. Light is not the enemy of darkness, it is its fulfillment. In this vision, the task of humanity is not to eliminate evil, but to transmute it through consciousness, to recognize even the darkest forces as estranged aspects of the One, returning to its source through love, compassion, and understanding. Within human consciousness, the struggle between good and evil becomes the very crucible of growth. Every moral choice refines perception. Every act of compassion reclaims part of the shadow. The saints, sages, and philosophers who perceived unity did not deny suffering. They illuminated it. They realized that by consciously engaging with duality, we participate in the evolution of the divine itself. Each human being is a microcosm of this cosmic process, a point where light and shadow meet, where the universe experiments with self-awareness. To live consciously, then, is to participate in this reconciliation, to become a vessel through which opposites harmonize. Ultimately, good and evil coexist not because the universe is flawed, but because consciousness is infinite. Within the vastness of being, every possibility must be explored. Yet beyond all opposites lies the silence of pure awareness, the still point where duality resolves. Mystics call this the kingdom of heaven within, the field beyond good and evil that Nietzsche glimpsed, the ground of being that Spinoza and Aquinas described as the divine essence itself. When consciousness awakens to its own unity, it no longer sees good and evil as warring forces, but as complementary movements of one divine intelligence. In that awakening, judgment gives way to understanding, and conflict dissolves into peace. To understand why good and evil coexist is to see that the universe is not divided, but whole, that every shadow conceals the light it seeks. Consciousness expresses itself through polarity so that it may know itself through contrast, evolve through choice, and ultimately return to the awareness of its eternal unity. The journey of humanity is not toward a world without darkness, but toward a mind that sees even darkness as part of the light. In that realization, we awaken to the highest truth. There is only consciousness, exploring itself through the dance of opposites, until all is remembered as one. If you found value in this exploration, make sure to check out the description below for curated and recommended literature for you to expand on this topic. Thank you very much for watching, liking and subscribing. Your support to this channel means the world to us and allows us to keep creating content every day.